And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition here of the PondCast episode 66, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, just IVIP with you and joined by, of course, Kuro handling the production behind the scenes, and, of course, by all the lovely people in the chat as well. Once again, we have a lot to get into here. And again, every single week we're live here with the PondCast, our way to go through all the tournament results and also all the news in StarCraft and all the adjacent news of StarCraft as well. Here we go. First things first, of course, a big surprise and a big change that came today was a hotfix. We did have a hotfix here, and once again, we did mention how, or we were trying to emphasize last week about how, okay, the patch went live. The patch went live quite quickly, without a bunch of the changes actually being tested as well. And if you recall, one of my biggest takes from that was, well, this is okay if we do actually get some amendment patches. And when I say amendment patch, I guess I should say hotfixes. We get some hotfix patches throughout the course of the next couple of weeks to kind of address some of the issues that are plaguing StarCraft, or whether or not the game would be kind of like left to dry, like left to hang, left to dry, whether or not to be like left alone here and it's kind of like one and done, and Blizzard will kind of like wipe their hands clean of it sort of thing and move on. Well, we have an answer to that. It's been a week. It's been less than a week actually, and we have had a hotfix. Now, we did actually have a bunch of changes here, a bunch of changes addressing some of the big issues currently plaguing StarCraft 2. Now, again, it's only been a week, so you can argue that maybe not enough time has passed where the meta has settled to really kind of dictate, where changes should kind of be placed and what the issues are. At this point, I think it's quite clear here. We spoke previously how, Protoss gained a lot of benefits from the previous patch, and there were definitely some issues concerning PvT, and that's being addressed here. So first things first, we have the Psionic Storm change. The Psionic Storm damage was reduced from 140 to 110 over 6 seconds, so the overall DPS, so the overall damage, and as a result, the DPS has been reduced here for Psystorm. Now it's going to be even smaller when it comes to the damage that it's overall dealing. Likewise, we have the Brewlord speed reduced from 2.62 to 2.42, and the Ghost HP has been increased from 100 to 125. Now, the three changes here are pretty interesting. It's pretty clear what is being addressed. First things first, when it comes to the strength of Storm is a really powerful zoning tool at the moment, and when it comes to TVP, if you've been watching the channel, if you've been watching any of the TVPs, and we've been casting a lot of Terran vs Protoss, as it is, I would say, the most common matchup currently in StarCraft, maybe alongside PvP. These are the two most common matchups. When it comes to the matchup itself, right now there's a lot of strength for Protoss in the mid game, but it isn't purely because of Storm. It's a combination of a couple of things here. Like, a good example of this is that, hey, if you were watching last night, if you were watching Hero, well, Hero, he didn't play Storm at all, actually. He never used Storm in his finals against Bjorn. What did he do? He went Colossus every game. The reason for this is because right now, when it comes to the strength of the mid game, it isn't just Storm and how potent it is, but also how viable Colossus now are. The reason why Colossus is so viable is because of the Ghost now becoming more fragile. The Ghost getting its Elite tag added here does mean that Colossus does bonus damage here to the Ghost, and does mean that Colossus-based builds and Colossus-based openers are a lot more viable. They're a lot more stronger coming into this as another option, which again, just to reiterate, Hero in his best of 5 finals against Bjorn never went Storm. He never actually went Storm. He went Colossus each time, and Bjorn had a very, very hard time against that kind of style, against that kind of mid-game composition of Hero that he was going for, Storm being another option to make use of as well. And this is a byproduct of kind of the Ghost change. I say byproduct because I'm pretty sure that change, the Ghost change, was meant to target TVZ, right? It was meant to be, okay, Ghosts are really strong and really powerful against Zerg. Let's take away some of that power by, adding the light tag. Unfortunately, again, it has had some big ramifications against Protoss, against Colossus-based builds in the mid game, where Protoss was already looking quite strong, looking quite powerful. Now they're looking even better than that. So that's why we have the Ghost HP increasing by 25, and we have a Psystorm damage reducing as well. And this is, from what I can tell, meant to be targeting TVP mid game, reducing some of that strength of Protoss, and ideally giving Terran a little bit more. Now, what I will say about these changes here regarding that is clearly, like, that's what this is targeting. Clearly, that's what this is about. Not just that, obviously, the Psystorm damage change is also going to be impacting ZVP. I'll get to that in a moment. We'll just kind of go through the matchups. But for TVP, is this enough here? Like, is 25 HP enough for the Ghost? I mean, to survive an extra Colossus swipe is something true, and again, Psystorm is going to be less punishing as well. What I will say about these changes is, I think what I do like about this is that they're sticking to their guns, right? Like, they're not capitulating and they're not reverting the overall kind of like idea, or the overall spirit of the patch itself. What I mean by that is that they didn't revert the Ghost. They didn't make the Ghost, they didn't remove the light tag. For Psystorm, they didn't revert, the fact that Psystorm lasts a long time and is now a really powerful zoning tool. I was curious how they were going to address, these two changes that they actually went for, and they're sticking to their guns, right? They're like, hey, we're reducing Psystorm damage. We want this to still be like a zoning tool. We want this to still last a long time. That we're not changing, right? Like, that is something that is not being touched. They're adjusting the damage, but the duration, the length, and how Psystorm has now changed and evolved in this patch is something that it looks like they're keen on keeping. So they want to try to keep that the spirit of the change of now what Psystorm is going to be, and they're reducing the damage. Same with the Ghost. They're like, oh, okay, so we have to try to work with this. We are not removing the light tag from the Ghost. We'll give it some more HP. We want to keep this change we initially went for both these things. So I find that really interesting that they're not that they're opting not to revert these changes. They want to work with these changes instead. We'll see if that is enough. For me, I don't know if it is. I mean, obviously we have to test, but these changes here are very slight. They're very slight changes here, and I don't know if it is going to be enough. Obviously our eyes are going to be on TVP. I think the good thing about I guess one of the pros about the fact that we cast so much TVP and TVP is so common right now is that you're very quickly going to get a lot of games. You're very quickly going to see these changes over the next couple of days, right? Over the next couple of days here in all the online tournaments, in Little League Cup, in Pegasaur Cup, in Wardy TV Monday, in Sparkling Tuna Cup, in all these in Turtle Tussle, in all these tournaments, you will be seeing a lot of games played, and you will be seeing these changes actually coming to fruition, and then you can very quickly get an idea just how many games you're getting, how the matchup changes in a very quick period of time, in a very short period of time, I should say, just because of how common this matchup is. The downside is the other matchup, ZVP and ZVT, the Zerg matchups. You know this if you watch the channel. Again, we cast more StarCraft than any other channel out there. So when I say that the Zerg matchups are rare, I mean that there's value in that. Again, we cast more StarCraft than anyone else out there, and there's a reason why, at least on this channel, whenever there's a Zerg player on a bracket, we jump on them while we can, because we know that we're not going to get them for long. So like a Wayne, a Shin, a Young Yakov, like we try to feature them for a couple of games before it just becomes pure TVP and PvP. And the downside of that, when it comes to observing, some of these changes and trying to see where the balance is that you don't really get to see a lot of games. And you don't really get to see how these changes have impacted the matchup. This is now in regards to the Broodlord speed change. Now, the reason why Broodlord speed has been reduced is because of the new kiting potential of the Broodlord. If you remember, in the previous patch, the Broodlord was actually changed in such a way where now there's a little more kiting potential. Now it fires its first shot a lot faster, and now just because it holds on to that shot, if you recall, and now has more kiting potential as well. And the Broodlord is a little more powerful as a result, due to that quote-unquote bug fix. Because the Broodlord is so much more powerful, that's why they're making it less maneuverable. That's why they're making it a little bit more vulnerable. That's why they're allowing for that to be shut down. The problem is, I would say, we have not casted any late game ZVT yet. We casted a couple of mid-game ZVTs with Shin versus Nicorect. With Shin attempting to play Muta, for example, he was going to Muta play. He was going into Ultra Rushes as well. But like again, fun facts. I've yet to cast any player going Broodlord, and I've yet to cast any player using Microbial Shroud. Even though these are meant to be like the big changes for Zerg, I just haven't casted any of that yet at all because we just haven't been getting there. like we haven't had a Zerg player get to that stage in said matchup in a tournament. It just hasn't happened. Of course, there are some tournaments we don't cast. I think the one that comes to mind is the Wardy's TLMC tournament, and he has a group stage going on there, thankfully. So, and I think it's round robin as well. So he's getting the most games as he can out of that, and hopefully we're able to observe some matches there at least, right? That's the one other tournament that's going on, right? Is the Wardy TV TLMC tournament, and that's we're hopefully getting some extra games there, and hopefully we're going to be able to see some of these changes come to fruition and see some of these dynamics, specifically late game ZVT Broodlord play and likewise Microbial Shroud play as well, to see if any changes have to be made there. What I should say is that because we're not getting a lot of those games, we're not seeing a lot of these changes actually come to fruition. We're not seeing kind of like if any changes need to be made at the moment, I would say, just because the sample size is so small. So that is a bit of an issue here. This is actually reminding me of SC Evolution. If you remember, StarCraft Evolution, they made a bunch of Protoss changes, and specifically to observe how these changes impacted the game, they hosted a couple of invitationals of pure PvP. Like they were trying to target like the PvP matchup with a bunch of changes, and so to be able to see like those changes come to fruition and whether or not they were going hard enough or not hard enough, they hosted an invitational of pure Protoss, and they just did nothing but PvPs. I can see value in like hosting like a show match of just like a ZVT and a ZVP show match, like best of 9 or something, like just to get the most games. And when I say show match, I mean like getting like a show match between like I was gonna say Raynor and Clem, but Raynor, he's lost in the rift. Like he's not gonna of like Cyril and Clem, or of like Solar and Bjorn, or like these kind of matchups where the players are relatively close in skill, just to be able to observe, right, like these changes in a competitive format, in competitive fashion. I can definitely see a value there in hosting some show matches or hosting some invitationals, just to like see the matchup, just to see like where things are at, and again, if changes need to be made. So that's definitely a concern for sure. That's definitely a concern, and we'll keep our eyes on said matchups moving forward, of course. But again, so winding it back, that's why that's the Broodlord speed reduced is specifically it should be for late game ZVT. Theoretically, I would imagine the Broodlord is quite powerful right now, and something has to be done about that, especially with the Ghost being reduced in power, because the Ghost is more vulnerable. So again, the Broodlord speed being reduced, it makes sense, I would say, theoretically, just because we just haven't seen a lot of games featuring the Broodlord, or I haven't seen any games yet. For Psystorm, when it comes to PvZ and that dynamic, right now Psystorm is a really strong zoning tool. I will say that right now Protoss, they're having an easier time compared to last patch when it comes to turtling up and defending on 4 bases. On 3 and 4 base, Protoss defense here is really powerful at the moment because of how long Storm lasts. The damage being reduced here is going to help Zerg players all in. Specifically, what I'm thinking of is the Baneling, right? Banelings, because they increase HP, they were already actually surviving some storms. Like when Ling Bane, when you go for like a 3 base all in, 4th base just for lava, big 3 base like Ling Bane Hydra all in into a defending Protoss player, Banelings, they would live storms, because you'd storm, and Banelings, because that barely increased HP, Banelings would barely make it through. And that was pretty huge, because the rationale for that is those Banelings, the goal is they get on top of the High Templar. They get on top of the Templar, they zone them away, or they shut them down, no more storms, and then the rest of the all-in can continue. Now with Storm doing even less damage, that does mean that Banelings will have an easier time surviving those storms, breaking through, and once again getting on top of the Templar, getting on top of the Gateway Army. I would say this change is pretty big, specifically for that dynamic. for ZVP all-ins. Once again, it's something that has to be seen, has to be observed. It's possible that this means that, again, maybe, I mean, I say maybe, a lot more Banelings going to be surviving these storms, a lot more Banelings going to be making it through. And this could be to the point where maybe all-ins are too strong, maybe not. Still has to be seen. We'll see if this does kind of create an uptick in, I mean, I say an uptick in all-ins, that's what we're saying anyway. In ZVP is just pure all-ins, and we'll see if that becomes too strong. We'll see if it's kind of evens out, if players are able, I mean, obviously it's going to force the defending Protoss player to kite back and to have some kind of counterplay, use force fields as well. We'll see how this dynamic changes. We'll see how much of an issue Banelings become trying to break through siege lines, trying to break through these storm lines onto the army or into a mineral line. But like in my mind, that's what I'm thinking of here. When I see like storm being reduced, I'm thinking of how many Banelings are going to survive a storm and make it through and be an issue for the Protoss army. That's kind of like the forefront of my mind for the ZVP matchup, at least. So that's something that we'll be keeping an eye on. When it comes to the Ghost HP being increased, I mean, that's also, we were speaking about surviving another Colossus wipe in TVP. This also is going to help against Banelings slightly. How much exactly, again, yet to be determined. We have seen a little bit of like later game TVP with like Shin versus Nickrat, for example, like a little bit. Yeah, we'll have to get some more games in, and I guess we'll get to some of the tournament results after the news section as well. We'll get there. We will get there. Some of the other bug fixes, again, a bunch of bug fixes, which is really cool. It shows that they're listening. They're listening to the community. They're listening to the scene. They know that they're aware of like what are issues, what aren't issues, and again, that's what the balance patch or the hot fix is targeting as well. Whether or not it is enough or not, whether it's not enough or too much, again, time will tell. Time will tell. And I think what's exciting here is that because we just got a hotfix, I would like to believe that this won't be the last hotfix, right? This won't be the last one. That if more changes have to be made, we will get them. Clearly at this phase, like we're done with any major changes. Like these are hotfixes, so like these are very, very slight like number changes here and there. So I do think that for the most part, like the core of the balance patch is kind of set in stone. We're just kind of like tweaking things here and there on the edges to kind of make sure that there's nothing too egregious in the competitive StarCraft 2 scene in the esport. So again, we'll keep an eye on this. Personally, I don't think this is enough, specifically for TVP. I feel like the Ghost is still too vulnerable, and Colossus base play is still going to be very strong and very powerful. Don't think 25 extra HP is going to help too much with that. But with Storm doing less damage, it's also possible, like we spoke about this before, and we've been seeing this as well, it's also possible that like rushing into Ghost is now less viable and less necessary, and now we're going to be seeing more like Viking heavy play, more faster second starports, and we have already been seeing that from players like Björn in TVP, and he has been having a bit of an he's been having a bit of a better time, but still struggling in the matchup, and we'll see how things change over time. When it comes to the bug fixes, there was a bug when it came to the Nova skin, when it came to the female ghost skin previously. So the bug was that the female ghost essentially in the game files counts as a separate unit. So the changes made to the ghost, specifically adding the light tag and changing the supply from 3 to 2, did not apply to the female ghost. So the female ghost was acting like the previous version of the ghost. And because of that, that was a bug that was in the game for like a week now, or less than a week, that has been addressed here, or at least they tried to address it here. Unfortunately, they didn't quite fix it. From my understanding, I believe now it correctly has the light tag applied to it, but instead of it being reduced from 3 supply to 2 supply, they accidentally made it so now it gives 2 supply instead. So the female ghost now is like not an extra deeper, but it's almost like an extra deeper here, where you can make the female ghost and you will not get supply blocked, and you'll be gaining supply by making it. So unfortunately, there was a bit of an error in the code when it was made, when this was pushed through, and we're probably going to be seeing a bug fix to this most likely in the next week, right? Most likely in the next week after maintenance, we're probably going to be getting this fixed. We might get it fixed earlier than that, but I don't know how often they're able to push through these bug fixes and push through these changes. So in my mind, a week's time is probably the duration in which this bug is going to be active. It is a bit of an issue. Like, thankfully, there's no major tournaments happening at the moment. All the major offline events happening in North America are happening next month, like end of October, coming into November. Same with the SC2 Safe House. So this won't be affecting any kind of major tournaments like that. This is going to be affecting some of the online tournaments potentially, depending on whether or not players use the female ghost skin. Players weren't using the female ghost skin, obviously, when it came to the lead up to this, when it was bugged, and the ideal is that they don't abuse this. It's one of those things where tournament organizers, they can always ban or let players know, hey, this is bugged, don't use it, right? Like, because skins are an option, so just tell them not to use it, and then they just won't. It is something that's going to be plaguing the ladder. I don't know how much of an issue this is necessarily. I mean, I'm sure it will be, actually, especially at lower leagues as well, like trying to make use of the ghost. So it is something that's going to be potentially a bit of an issue when it comes to the ladder. So watch yourselves out there. Like, be wary that there is a bug right now that can be abused. This is not the first time this has happened. Like, we've had some crazy bugs in the past when it comes to command centers and CCs and being able to shoot and fire, and there's been some weird bugs in the past. But
that is by far my favorite bug in all of StarCraft, is when command centers could load anything and still shoot from it. That is perfect. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Like, we've had some more egregious and more game breaking bugs before, and I want to say that lasted like a day or something like that. That was fixed pretty quickly, but yeah, we'll see when this gets fixed. Like, I'm assuming a week at the most, maybe even less than that, and they'll step in and fix this. But I think they're fully aware of said bug. Especially if they're actively fixing bugs with these hot fixes. I'm sure they're aware of what's happening and what's permeating throughout the community. Another change that was kind of snuck in here, which is interesting, was Consume. Consume now no longer destroys buildings. When a building gets to low enough HP, Consume now just ends. So it's Consume doesn't go any further and doesn't kill any structures anymore. I would kind of akin this to stim. For those who don't know, you cannot stim your units to death. If you keep stimming, your units, they go down to 1 HP, but they don't actually die. Right, so it's kind of like that, where you can try to consume, but you won't be able to once the building gets to a low enough HP threshold, down to 7.5 HP. So this is I guess a quality of life change. I remember discussing this morning during the cast. I was like, we don't often see Zerg players at the pro level kill their own buildings unintentionally. It happens every now and then. I think Solar did it relatively recently at DreamHack Dallas. I think infamously Raynor did it one time as well. It happens every now and then, but it's not huge. But it's I guess it's a nice quality of life change just to stop that from happening. I will say that sometimes you're intentionally destroying your buildings. It's very common for Zerg players to throw down a bunch of Evo chambers and just use them as batteries, essentially, for your Vipers to go in and just to suck on all the buildings, on all the Evo chambers. But now they're going to be alive, I guess. They're going to be persisting, so that's going to be a thing. That might actually be an issue, just space-wise. I'm sure there are going to be times where you want to destroy the building just so you can build another one in its place, just to have a full HP buildings for Vipers to work with. So it's going to be, an interesting dynamic. But regardless, it's an interesting change that was added. Again, quality of life and some other bug fixes as well. So, it's really cool to see that we're getting these hotfixes, and again, we're expecting another one, at least to fix the, Nova skin issue, the female ghost skin issue. When it comes to, the rest of the balance of the game, as I mentioned before, I don't think this is enough for TVP when it comes to the strength of the ghost, but we'll see. As I mentioned before, with Storm now doing less damage, with Ghosts now being maybe less necessary early on, then maybe we're going to be relying a little bit more heavily on extra Starport production, extra Viking production to help deal with those Colossus. We'll see how the matchup evolves. Again, we're going to be getting a lot of TVPs in the upcoming days anyway, to be able to observe, to be able to judge, and to see where things lie. With that leads us into our next bit of news. That leads us into Streamer Zone. Streamer Zone, they are, I think at this point, the biggest StarCraft 2 team. Like, they've got a lot of players. And in the past, it used to be like Platinum Heroes and Berserker Esports. Well, Berserker Esports, they for the most part disbanded their pro team. And Platinum Heroes, they also cut back heavily on their pro team as well. So I think with confidence, I can say at this point, Streamer Zone is the biggest SC2 team, like size-wise, when it comes to how many players they have. And they've decided to pick up another player. A little bit out of the left field, they picked up Parting. Parting, who does not actively compete in StarCraft, by the way. He's not an active competitor. He's been fixated a lot more on other RTSs, on Stormgates. I know he dedicated a lot of time to Stormgate. So for him to, I mean, even in the announcement, they say here, hey, he's coming out of retirement. He's returning to StarCraft. That's really cool. We'll see when he comes back. This announcement was made on the 3rd of October, and Parting, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's played anything yet. Let me just double check, because we haven't noticed him in any brackets. And of course, we're going to be going over some brackets this week. But let me just double check. Yep. Parting, he has not played in a single tournament yet. So, yeah, they announced that he's back. But we'll see when he does actually come back. Like, we'll see. I mean, obviously, this means that Parting, he has incentive, or he plans on returning to competing to StarCraft. I'm thinking maybe RSL qualifiers, right? Like, maybe RSL qualifiers are going to be the first return that we're going to be seeing. Otherwise, yeah, he hasn't really touched any of the Open Cups. So I'm thinking RSL qualifiers, that's kind of like the next big thing that's going to be available here to Parting. So we'll see if he actually competes. We'll see if he actually, steps up. I hope so. I do hope so. It is going to take a little bit. It's going to take a while for Parting to kind of regain his skill. For those who are curious, Parting, he retired back in 2024. So it was only last year. Like, Parting, he was actively competing not too long ago, and he was in a decent position. Like, I'm quickly checking some of his results from 2024, and he was losing to players like Stats, like Dark, Solar, Björn, Gumiho. Like, it looks like he was kind of more or less at the bottom of the pack in the Korean pro scene. So that's kind of like where he's going to have to get back to, and then we'll see if he can go further from there as well. It's also possible that, again, he's kind of like maybe interested once again. Now that the game is getting patched, he's like, oh, like StarCraft 2 isn't like it's Blizzard, they're paying attention to it. Now some of the players paying a little bit more attention to it as well. So we'll see how Parting looks. We'll see when he does return. Once he does, we'll point it out. I'm sure we'll be there to announce that and to get on that as well. So yeah, going to be exciting to see Parting, and when he does choose to return to the game, to return to competitive scene. So, yeah, something to keep an eye out for is the returning tournament here for Parting. Oh, right, of course. It's also possible that it might not be RSL. He might be coming back for the Streamer Zone tournaments. Like, if you remember, Streamer Zone, they announced that they're running a tournament soon. They're still a little bit light on those details. They're still holding that's a little bit close to the chest, but it's possible that tournament may be Parting's like return to competitive form. That would make sense at least. Speaking of RSL, up next is going to be the rival StarCraft League venue and dates confirmed for the offline finals. Remember, there's going to be 3 seasons of RSL this year. We already had 2. There's one more season left. Qualifiers are around the corner for the final season, and that's all leading into this big offline finals where you get the top players of every single RSL competing and facing off. And we have dates confirmed here. It's going to be the 13th and 14th of December, so 2-day event. Hey, that's really exciting. That's really cool that it's going to be not a single day event, but a weekend of RSL, and it's going to be in Gangnam as well. It's going to be between the Yeoksam station and the Seolyong station as well. So we have a confirmed location, we have confirmed dates. So now people that are traveling to Korea or that are willing to travel to Korea now can actually start scheduling around that as well. So really cool to see. They even have like a nice little graphic showing like the walking routes that you would take from each station as well. So it's really cool. It's a really cool little graphic. And I believe you're also going to need tickets as well. So it isn't just that they're booking an offline venue, but I believe you do have to pay tickets to actually enter the venue. Yep, as you can see here, ticket sales, they're actually open on the 20th of October for patrons, and then they're going to be opening up to the public on the 27th of October. So there's going to be tickets on top of that. Just bear that in mind. VSG Arena. Oh, interesting. I guess according to, I was just quickly looking at some of the responses to this. But it looks like this is the VSG Arena. It looks like the KSL. The KSL, the KSL, the Korean StarCraft League. There's been some Brood War tournaments here. So this is a venue that looks like they probably worked in the past. And has worked some esports events in the past as well. Okay. Cool. So shout out to Paradoxa for posting some pictures of the venue itself. And of course, I wish the best to those working behind the scenes at RSL. It is not easy to just actually run an event like that, and they're going to have to, get everything going when it comes to cameras, when it comes to production team, and setting up the venue itself. I'm sure the venue does actually facilitate for that. That would make sense in my mind, right? Like the venue itself, they have like a production team that they just get called upon whenever there's like an event being booked. So I'm sure that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, we have confirmation. That leads us into our next big offline event happening in the Americas. We spoke about this earlier here when it comes to the big events happening in America or in the Americas. So there's, of course, the event happening in Canada and also the event happening in Philadelphia. And here it is for the SC for All. We have some more confirmed players. As a reminder, this is a big offline event that is partnered, and this is the new Cheeseadelphia, basically. So Cheeseadelphia, they partnered with the SC Historian, and now we have the SC for All tournaments. It's going to be a big LAN in Philadelphia on the 1st and 2nd of November. We have been announcing the announced confirmed invitees to the tournaments for both their SC2 tournament and their Brood War tournament as well. This week we have confirmation Epic. Epic's going to be there. Makes sense. Epic, he's one of the best players in the Americas at the moment. Like when I think of the top American players, I think of Straya, I think of Future, I think of Epic, I think of Trigger from Canada, and we should be getting those invites for said players as well. So Epic is going to be a part of the event. He's always there for Cheeseadelphia, so it makes sense for him to be going to this tournament as well. From the Brood War side of things, we have Gypsy. Gypsy, the Canadian player, the Canadian Terran player, is also confirmed to be a part of the tournament. I'm a little bit less familiar with the Brood War scene, so there's a little bit less weight for that for me. I'm not too familiar with Gypsy, but really cool to see that we have some more American talent, or America's talent, also going to be heading over. Meanwhile, we do have it looks like vote for your players here. Okay. Sorry, this caught me off guard. Players with the most votes will win a travel stipend towards their trip to Philadelphia. So apparently there's a way to vote for who you want to have their travel paid? Question mark.
Basically, there was a time where you could sign up as a player that you want to participate, and now the person who gets the most votes is the one who will get the stipend. There are 4 stipends there.
Well, it's a little bit confusing because a lot of the players that they listed are already going, right?
Some of them, yeah.
Like Geralt,
Mixu.
right? Future, Mixu. Like Future was already confirmed to go, Geralt's already confirmed to go, Mixu's already confirmed.
I guess the invites themselves didn't cover travel, so they just entered this instead.
I guess that's what we're hearing. I guess I guess that's what this means. Is that the previous invites that we heard are invites, but they're not actually being paid travel accommodations or travel and accommodations. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a part of this, right? Right? Yeah. Ha. So I guess that's what that confirms. But yes, as was stated, we do have, you can vote. Voting ends on the 14th of October, so you can help vote for who you want. I mean, I say the players are already going to be there, I guess, but you can support these players and make it a little bit easier for them to travel. So that's going to be a possibility here. So far, who do we have? You can vote, as stated before, you can vote for Geralt, you can vote for Percival, Foxer, Mixu, Future, Dolan as well. The Dolan, oh, let's go. It's kind of weird, though. Like, I don't know. Like, from my understanding, I mean, I say from my understanding, I know this because we've paid for Dolan to travel to Philadelphia before. Traveling, like, within America is not the most expensive thing. So, like, $1,000 to one of the American players to travel to Philadelphia, that's you're not just paying for their travel, you're paying for their travel accommodations, you're paying for that's like a lot. There's a lot of extra money on the table there. Like, hi. But quickly looking here at who's at the current voting list, Gypsy has the most. A little bit surprised there, but again, I don't know who Gypsy is. But Gypsy, he has a massive lead so far, followed by Geralt and Percival. And then Fox are behind him, and then the rest. But again, voting, it only recently opened up. So if you want to go out there, if you want to vote for who you want to actually compete and for their travels to be paid for, then you can do so. You can do so. I would say that it's probably best to give it to some of the more international players. They would benefit the most. So I would say Geralt and Percival. Like, on the one hand, sure, like Gypsy is also traveling from Canada, but it's still quite close. Like, it's still, it's not the. Oh, true, and also, yeah, true, also mixed it, my apologies. And also SOS, true. So, like, I would say that, like, Geralt, Percival, Mixu, and SOS would benefit the most. So I would push towards those players getting the most votes, more so than anyone from the Americas, from Canada, or from North America. That's at least what I would want to see. But I guess this is also confirmation that all these players are going. I think we already announced that SOS was going. I think we already said that, but yeah, even I guess this confirms that Dolan, Foxer, and Percival's going to be there as well. There you go. Like, otherwise it wouldn't be listed here, right? It'd be weird if, like, Percival got 4th place and didn't go, right? Like, so because 4th place still earns some money here. So yeah, I think all these players are confirmed to be going to the event. Meanwhile, up next, we do have also confirmation in regards to the tabletop miniatures game. We finally have some results. Let's go. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The team TLMC 5 winners have been announced. So bearing in mind that this is for the Team Liquid map contest, this is for the team game maps for 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4. Voting was available, and now voting has concluded, and we have a top maps, which are going to be added to the ladder map pool. So for 2v2, first place was New Bed of Chaos by Killer Smile, and also second place was Gem Garden by Avex. I did see that Avex, he was tweeting about this. He was very happy that some of his maps made it through. So shout out to Killer Smile and to Avex for having their 2v2 maps make it through into the ladder. So we're going to be replacing some of the older maps. Hoping that we replace Emerald City. Emerald City's been around for so long. Not a bad map, but it's been around for a long time. So we're finally going to get some of those 2v2 maps revitalized. For 3v3, we have Ball Peak, also by Avex. So we have Ball Peak or Ball Peak, and Incognito from Character as well. So we have Ball Peak and Incognito making it through for the 3v3s. For 4v4, we have a Heaven's Ward or Heaven Ward. No S, a Heaven Ward, and Netsphere Terminal by Depressed One. Both maps actually from Depressed One. Oh, there you go. Depressed One taking first and second place for the 4v4 map pool. Let's go. So we have our top 2 maps confirmed, and I believe these are the maps that are going to be added to the ladder map pool. I don't know if some of the other finalists are going to be added as well. It's possible that they will. But I don't have full confirmation as to how the map pool is going to be revitalized and how many maps are going to be added. Personally, I would love for the most amount of maps to be added to said map pools to shake it up the most, but we'll see. I think we're at least confirming these 2, right? At least these 2 maps for each 4 maps are going to be added and they're going to be updated. At least that much. Whether we get extra maps, I would hope so. From the rest of the finalists, I mean. The rest of the finalists. I'd hope that we're able to get the most out of that. But yeah, based on what's said here, the 1 and 2 vote receiving maps are confirmed to be added to the upcoming ladder map pool, while considerations are being made to add the 3rd map in each category as well. Oh, there you go. Sorry. So in the announcement post, they're also saying that potentially the 3rd placing map for all of these categories will also be added. They're still like kind of figuring out whether they want to do that or not. So shout out to TLMC, shout out to Wax for organizing this and for keeping the map pools fresh on the ladder. Really cool to see. And again, we'll once it gets updated, we'll let you know whether or not they did decide to actually have the third place map also joining the map pool as well. Again, personally, I hope so. Like personally, I do hope so. Hope they're able to like add as many new maps as they can. That leads us into the Archon Studio. The Archon Studio, I mean, they have been sponsoring RSL each season of RSL so far, and our criticism of that is that we wanted for them to showcase the miniatures in some way, shape, or form, like showing off some of the models, showing off some play testing, and it looks like we have confirmation that we have had some play testing take place recently at the Blizzard Studios or at the Blizzard HQ. So it's a really nice write-up here where the creators of the miniature set actually went to the Blizzard HQ to get some feedback in regards to the rule set, in regards to not just the rule set, but in regards to the visual look as well, and kind of play testing in general here, how things would work. So we were able to get a nice kind of like snapshot of that, of images of the miniature game itself. Obviously, this is still work in progress, but it looks like they have like some interesting like cards, like some like unit cards with like stats, like they're holding on to like their rule set as well. They have all the miniatures, they have like these tokens, they have a bunch of dice. So we don't have like full details as to how the game is currently working. I don't think we need to either, because most likely the game is going to be changing based on the feedback that they received. But honestly, it looks really cool. And this is the kind of thing that I was hoping that we would get a little bit of out of RSL, right? It's like one of the big issues, one of my big criticisms of the rival StarCraft League is that the broadcasts are very short and the broadcasts themselves are very light when it comes to content. There is so much that they can do, with the studio that they have, with the fact that they're offline in a studio in Korea as well, that I feel like they're not actually taking advantage of. It feels like there's a lot of wasted potential with RSL, and I would hope that they push forward when it comes to creating some more content, making more of their tournaments, of the venue that they have, of the studio that they've rented, and part of that as well, making more of their partnership with Archon Studio. At least I hope that they do something with that at least. I hope that they're willing, Archon Studio are willing to.
I will personally ask about it actually. I'm planning to ask about it on Discord. Because fun fact, for those who are interested in the tabletop miniature game, I do recommend following the AMAs on their YouTube and joining their Discord, because they've been sharing a lot of like little sneak peeks about what the game is gonna be like. And I guess I'm gonna just announce it now. There will be a playtest for the miniatures board game at Spiel Essen, which is like a convention for tabletop games, essentially. And they already have like planned tables where you can actually play the game as well. Like you can try it out for yourself. So if anybody is going to that convention, then make sure to check it out. And they also said that after they present the game at the convention, there will also be a dedicated StarCraft AMA specifically for the StarCraft game. And also, I remember as I was watching the AMA, the CEO also said that they have like maybe one meeting left with Blizzard, and basically they will be ready to like, you know, start actually like pre-orders and production and so on. Yeah.
So if they're willing to push through that, then I'm hoping that they're willing to work a little bit more with RSL in regards to Season 3. So, yeah, I hope so. When it comes to the convention itself, it is going to be happening in Germany. It is going to be at the end of this month, at the end of October. So you can look forward to that. If you happen to be local to Germany or in the surrounding area and surrounding regions, if you're willing to travel, then the Spiel Essen is going to be the 23rd to 26th of October. So it's going to be a 3-day convention. And, of course, they're going to be there at said convention as well. So again, really cool to see. I mean, again, there's a lot of hype around the miniatures game. I feel like it's something that people have been asking for a very, very long time. Like, sure, we got StarCraft Risk, but that's just like a skin. That's like a skin of Risk, and that's not really like people have been wanting a little bit more from StarCraft for a very, very long time. So really cool to see that they're pushing that through, and again, hoping that they're able to have like a little bit more of like a public presence when it comes to showcasing what the miniatures game is made of, because I feel like it has a lot of potential. I feel like there's like a big potential like player base for something like this. I mean, there's a lot of people that, of course, like they get into miniatures, they get into board games, and for this to be added to that, to be a solid game, I mean, it's really cool to see. It's really cool. So best of luck to all those working behind the scenes and to all those that are going to be traveling or going to the convention and play testing the miniatures game out as well. Do look forward to it. When it comes to the to what happened at the Blizzard HQ, it looks like this happened quite some time ago. It looks like this happened back in September. So again, there's been a lot that's, I guess, changed since then. We're just now kind of reporting on it. And the next big piece of news here is going to be the SC Evolution patch. If you recall, we did touch on this last week about how with the new patch for StarCraft being released, those working on the PTR patch in StarCraft Evolution were forced to kind of push it through. Even if it was a little bit half-baked and unfinished, they were kind of forced to push it through because, I mean, you could argue that they have to either push it through or just scrap it entirely, because they have to rebalance and rework everything now, adjusting to the new SE2 base game. So yeah, they're in a really awkward position, and I don't envy their position either, right? To put all this work into an upcoming PTR, to an upcoming patch, and for all that to kind of be thrown out the window is a little bit sad. But it's kind of like the position that they're in, and they're already actively working on it. So very quickly, let's jump into the new patch for SC Evolution 1.17. Here we go. And going through the blog post here, it says here, unfortunately, StarCraft 2's official 5.0.15 PTR cycle was much faster than anticipated. We were a lockstep in that as well, right? We were surprised how little time the PTR actually, and again, it was like a week, or it was like it was under 2 weeks, of PTR. It was crazy short. The finished 5.0.15 patch was released just a few days ago. As such, we have taken the time to add additional changes, and unfortunately, we will have to deploy them without further testing. Although the PTR playtesting tournaments were less meaningful because of the concurrent changes in StarCraft, we'd like to thank the players and casters who offered us their feedback on the new patch. Despite the circumstances, your comments were nevertheless taken into consideration for this patch. The multiplayer design team will remain on standby to monitor future developments in the metagame, especially as we have credible rumors that StarCraft 2 may undergo a hotfix in the near future, and as we look towards beginning the closed alpha testing stage on the new SC Evolution ranked ladder. Okay, from the top, new models and arts. Okay, so new building model, the Arbiter Tribunal. Actually, sorry, there's a lot to go through. Okay, from the beginning. It's a little bit finicky. So new building model evolution chamber. Oh, let's go. We got a custom Evo. we got a custom Evo chamber that's a little more akin to the Brood War one. So really cool to see. So we have a new Evo chamber. Really nice assets being used there as well. We have a new Citadel of Adun. We have a new model for the Observatory. We have a new model for the Arbiter Tribunal. We have a new model for the Shield Battery as well for Lockdown. Oh, a new visual effect. Hold on, I want to see this. Okay, nice. We got a new visual effect for Lockdown. We have a new model for the Creep Colony, and we have a new model for the Sunken Colony. So really cool to see all these new models being added. It's a little bit finicky to go through them on the website, but regardless, it's really cool to see. Once again, they're doing the best they can to kind of delineate and distinguish between Brood War and SE2 factions. So even though, say, there's like an EVA chamber in Brood War and there's an EVA chamber in SE2, like they look visually different to make them distinct, right, from one another. We should be seeing everything revamped. So spawning pools, simulators have already been changed. I feel like the spawning pools have been changed as well. Like a lot of these building models have been made more custom, more unique for the Brood War side of things, just to make sure that it's visually clear that one is different from the other. Meanwhile, scrolling down, we do have I mean, sorry, I should emphasize, we already went through some of these changes previously for the PTR version. True. But now we're kind of like pushing this through. So First up, Terran. Terran changes here for StarCraft Evolution. The Marine decreased build time by 10 seconds, decreased attack period as well, so now attacks a little bit more frequently. Now you can build it faster. Decreased Stim Pack attack speed bonus from 100% to 75%. We already went through this during the PTR. Increased attack period after Stim as well. Increased Stim cooldown from 0 to 0.71. Oh, that is an interesting change. I don't think that was there, but now there's a cooldown with how often you can Stim. Now decreased decreased U238 shells research time from 85.7 to 64.3 seconds. Okay, so interesting changes here to the Marine. Basically, Stim is going to be weaker here. Stim is going to be doing a little bit less damage to make up for that. So that's why the attack period was decreased for the Marine. So the base Marine is going to be a little bit stronger. Stim Marine a little bit weaker here, taking away some of the strength of, again, Bio. Heading on over to the to the Firebats. These are changes that are going to be flat across Marine, Firebats, and Medic. That is the build time. So build time was decreased flat across the board, across all 3 units. Decrease HP from 55 to 50%. So the Firebat was a little bit too tanky, was a little bit too robust, so they have made it a little bit more fragile. Attack no longer considered melee. Okay, and can hit targets behind structure walls or across areas without a walkable path. Ah, interesting. Cannot attack targets on different cliff levels. Okay. So they're giving the Firebats more of a ranged attack here. It's gonna be hitting more as a result. Weapon range now affected by Viper, Blinding Cloud. Inner 100% splash damage zone now affected by Guardian Shield and Microbial Shroud as well. Oh, okay. Quickly going through the rationale. Recently, the data team became... I remember we already went through this last time. The actual attack speed bonus of Stim for the Marine and Brood War was approximately 72%, not 100%. So they reduced it to be a little bit more in line with Brood War stats. A number of problems such as the Marine supply density as a part of a maxed out 200 army and the inviability of SC2 Bio against Brutal Bio in the mirror matchup and the sheer ease of use of Marines overall, particularly at lower levels, have created issues with skill expression and the learning curve of the race that we think could be addressed. With both the SEL Championship and Chijik Merlot King SC1 versus SC2 Cup number 2 behind us, this PTR serves the perfect testing grounds to changes we have devised. It looks like they copy pasted this from the PTR patch notes. So it says here like, yes, this PTR, it's a good testing ground. It's not a PTR anymore, papi. So looks like they did just copy paste this. Nice. Historically, we have looked to rework the Brutal units by referencing the original stats and cost. In this case, although the Brutal Marine originally had 40 HP, we cannot reduce the Marine's HP here due to hits to kill interactions against Roaches, Colossi, and other units. Therefore, we are simply reducing the attack speed. Interesting. When deciding what the new post-impact attack period should be, we took into account the fact that the basic Brutal units in SE Evo have had their range increase from Brood War ended up settling at an attack period slower than what they had in Brood War. As such, we were looking for a value that was slower. Okay, this is just rationale of kind of where they landed on when it comes to the attack period. Furthermore, 238 shells research has been sped up to match its research time in Brood War. Now the amount of time it takes to build an armory and research both Stim and U238 shells is equivalent to that what it was in Brood War. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. It feels like for some of these changes, the rationale behind it is that it was like this in Brood War, so we want to try to line it up with Brood War as much as we can. I guess I'm not too opposed to that. I think that overall that's meant to be like the spirit of this mod, I suppose. Whether or not it's balanced, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be tweaking that as well, as things had to be changed eventually, to accommodate for that. With all these units nerfed down to values more faithfully representing their brutal versions, we are speeding up production time to compensate. Overall, we think this will be a side grade or very slight nerf to Bio before the 200 max out and considerable nerf afterwards. It looks like they're also, I should have mentioned this as well, they're also taking into account a bunch of games that happened during the Chijik Merlot King tournament. Unfortunately, I don't think that was ever casted in English just because it was on Chijik. For those who are curious, that is a Korean streaming platform. It's like the equivalent of like Twitch in Korea, or it's a competitor to Africa TV. So that was casted in Korean, of course, but it was not covered in English. So yeah, there's a bunch of matches there that I haven't seen, that I'm not really aware of. I know the VODs are available on Chijik, so you can watch the VODs in Korean. But that's also kind of like impacting like the view on like a lot of these upcoming changes due to that major tournament that occurred. Up next is the Ghost. Decrease lockdown duration. Yeah, we spoke about this last time. Lockdown is a very strong spell, but what they're doing here is that they're going to be nerfing all of the kind of like lockdown spells. So it's going to be lockdown. I believe it's going to be stasis field with the Arbiter and snare as well. And I want to say there's another, but like a lot of these kind of like crowd control abilities are all being nerfed across the board. Which kind of makes sense. It is really strong. It's really strong. I think Dark Swarm is another one of those. But the Brood War spells in StarCraft Evolution, they do last an insane amount of time. And it looks like they're finally cracking down on that. On the one hand, it's a bit of a shame because that was very iconic to StarCraft Evolution, is the strength of these spells. But they are quite strong. It looks like they're kind of stepping in and being like, you know what, this is maybe too much. For the balance of the game, this probably isn't ideal, considering just how long some of these stuns and some of these crowd control abilities are lasting, so they're kind of winding them all the way back. So again, this is going to be to the Ghosts and to the other spellcasters that we'll get to. Scrolling down, Spider Mines no longer deal a full off splash damage, 50% and 25% zones to other borrowed Spider Mines. Okay. It's a very specific change. Siege Tank changed allied push priority from 0 to 1. This mirrors the push priority change to the S2 Siege Tank. Wraith increased burst lasers attack range from 4 to 5 and decreased anti-air attack period from 0.98 to 0.94. They've been adjusting quite a lot when it comes to the air units here of Terran over the past couple of patches. Previously, we increased the anti-ground damage of the Wraith in exchange for decreasing its range. The new damage output allowed for the Wraith to be more useful in picking off workers and key targets, such as spellcasters and Night Swarms. However, the reduced range ended up taking away some of the opportunities to get value out of Wraiths with good micro. In the case of the Wraith, we still think the current balance of the game allows for the Wraith to stretch its legs a bit more in this department, so we are simply buffing the range of the burst laser outright. There you go. Valkyrie. Are we changing all the splash damage units again for anti-air? We'll see. Valkyrie. Valkyrie attack missiles are now close to their Brood War implementation, cycling through 14 different offset positions around the target between attacks. Okay. Decrease the duration. The duration of Valkyrie remains locked in place while attacking from 1.65 to 1.6. Decrease Halo cluster rockets delay between volleys 0.42 to 0.4. Decrease Halo cluster rockets attack period. These are really slight changes, really slight. Except for the first one, of course. These changes further emulate Brood War Valkyrie behavior. Okay. Valkyries can now resume moving if their target becomes invalid when firing. For example, if the target dies. Okay. So the Valkyrie is going to be a little more microable. Scrolling down, the Science Vessel, decreased defensive matrix duration. We spoke about this, right? Like all the crowd control spells are being nerfed. So lockdown, defense matrix as well. Oh, sorry, that's not crowd control. My apologies. Looks like maybe this is going to be affecting all the big spells. Okay, let's go. This is a big change from 42 to 28.6. Decrease EMP shockwave research time from 71 to 57. Decrease irradiate effects radius. Increase effect radius. Target radius +1 to +1.125. EMP shockwave and irradiate buffs serve as a slight check to increase the power of the SC2 Zerg and Protoss armies. The defense matrix duration reduction is one of the number of changes this patch that makes certain excessively long, slow, stun, shield, or environmental altering spells shorter, down to about 50% of their core durations. This proportion helps these effects fit better into StarCraft 2's fast-pacing combat. Yeah, so this is going to be another big change. Like this is actually pretty huge. Like for all these spells, it's going to change the strength for a lot of it's going to change the power spikes for a lot of these races, just because they often do, like these spellcasters often do provide a lot of power once they hit the field, and they're taking away from a lot of that, which is also why they're like adjusting other units, of course. But definitely going to have to keep an eye on a lot of these changes. Up next, the Battlecruiser, decreased build cost. Decrease build cost from 375, 275 to 350, 250, and decrease HP by 50%. By 50 HP. Decrease the damage, overall attack damage here when it comes to the ATS laser battery. Oh boy. So attack damage from 38 plus 8 versus mechanical to just flat 34. And I want to say that we already spoke about this in the PTR as well. Yeah, previous reworks of the Battlecruiser tried to compensate for its high cost by granting it monstrous stats. As a reminder, one of the reasons why they gave it all these monstrous stats for the BC was because it was less mobile. It's a lot less mobile than the SC2 BC, but they've because they made it so strong, we have seen a lot of Terran players, their goal in a lot of matchups is just rush BC, right? Is to build up, then turtle, then try to rush BC, and then they get into like this heavy BC count, and it gets a little bit out of hand. Looks like they're stepping in and they're trying to take away from that. Maybe identifying that it was a little bit too strong, a little bit too much. So they're scaling down the BC quite a bit compared to what it was. Zerg changes. Increased pneumatized carapace movement speed from 1.5 to 1.6. Increased movement speed after pneumatized carapace as well. Oh wait, after pneumatized carapace from 3 to 3.15. Decreased cost of ventral sacks and decreased research time as well. These changes improve the viability of Zergling drops in the mid game and Defiler drops in the late game, particularly as a counter to strengthened SC2 Terran and Protoss late game armies. Interesting. I'm curious if that's in regards to like the new patch. It is a really interesting way to try to counteract more turtle heavy play. I think I'm all for that, trying to incentivize more drop play in general. Hydra decreased stack period from 0.69 to 0.67. This change addressed in general to increase the strength of the S2 races, particularly that of Protoss, because of the strength of S2 races. Okay, it's a very general line, but sure. Lurker increased attack damage bonus per weapon upgrade from 2 to 3, so Lurker's doing more damage. The Hydra can attack more frequently as well. They're just overall buffing some of these Zerg units. Scourge increased HP from 25 to 30. This is probably because of Storm. Like, Storm is a really powerful zoning tool now, so Scourge are going to be having a harder time engaging into armies as a result. Decreased stack period. Can now automatically target units with anti-ground weapons. Previously, Scourge only prioritized threats that could attack them. Now they may also target units like Colossus or Siege Liberators that are the closest hostile units. Cool. A Scourge HP has been buffed, both in response to concerns about the difficulty of eliminating Colossi and the changes to Sonic Storm. Yeah, that's what we assumed. So again, because of the change to the Storm, we're increasing the HP. This is very similar to the Bailing buff that we just got, where they're surviving storms. Now Scourge likewise have a higher chance of surviving storms as well. Okay. All right, this will also help with ZVZ and the SC2 Muta. Now that the Spire was reducing cost and the Muta changes in general for SC2, makes sense. Muta, increase attack range from 4 to 4.5. Let's go. Once again, in a recent patch, we reduced the damage dealt by the Muta on the subsequent bounces of its glaive. Although this resolves certain issues, like the over-centralization of 2-base Muta play in ZVZ, we recognize that the Psycho 2 races and engine-possessed units and mechanics that naturally make the Mutalist difficult to use. Nevertheless, although the increased bounce damage enabled the Muta to control the flow of the game, as well as it did in Brood War, did so by violating its identity. The Muta should be a unit whose strength lies in its elusiveness, not its damage outputs. As such, we are focusing on changes that reward skilled players for active Muta play. Cool. I think we can get behind that. A bunch of buffs were considered, such as adding a slight HP cushion or increasing movement acceleration, but the Mutalist is already one of the most agile and responsive units in the game. We believe that straight HP buff would not create the potential for skill differentiation. Devour. Increase acid spore behavior expiration cooldown from 15 to 27 seconds. Okay. We're buffing that. Oh, sorry. Acid Spore no longer affects the rate at which carriers launch interceptors. In the case of Acid Spores, it was found that the core value of the duration of Acid Spore was much shorter than the actual value in Brood War, so its corresponding change in multi is a buff rather than a nerf. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they did the copy paste for like, oh yeah, we're reducing all the spellcasters, and then they add a little note at the end like, oh, that doesn't apply to the Devourer though. That's why I was a little bit confused. Like, oh, they're buffing it. So I don't know why they had the first part, but sure. Guardian decrease attack damage point from 0.12 to 0.07. Oh, okay. Increase attack damage bonus per weapon upgrade from 2 to 3. This because the attack damage point, this is going to increase its micro ability. It's reminding me a little bit of the Broodlord change that we recently had. Queen, Ensnare no longer slows the attack speed of units with turret weapons. Ensnare no longer affects the rate at which carriers launch the interceptors. Decrease the Ensnare effect from 21 to 14.3. So again, a big change to the Ensnare, which is what we're seeing across the board. Likewise for the Devourer, big nerf here to Dark Swarm, lasts from 32 seconds to 20 seconds instead. So again, big changes to all the spellcasters. Scoring down to the Ultralisk, decrease anabolic synthesis research costs from 150 to 125. Decrease kindness plating research costs as well. So they're making the upgrades a little bit cheaper here for the Ultra. And the rationale here is Psystorm. Yeah. Considering the change in Psystorm, we're making them a little bit more accessible. Makes sense. Infestor. If you recall, this is going to be one of the changes to StarCraft 2, which they often don't do. If you recall, they were looking to try to make a change to the Spore a couple of patches ago, or last patch, and then they reverted that change. Here, this is like they're adjusting the Infestor, but this is specifically for Neural and for mind control as well. So I believe for Neural and for mind control, basically, I mean, getting into this, units produced after building a Brood War or SC2 command center, hatchery, or nexus using an enemy worker under the effects of Neural Parasite now consume supply. Previously, I think they had their own supply pool. Brood War and SC2 Terran units now consume a shared food pool up to a max of 200. So yeah, they're just explaining here that it's going to be a shared supply pool. Protoss changes. Then we get into Protoss changes. First, we have the Temple Archives, increased build time from 28 to 35. Dark Templar, decreased build time from 30 to 26. An increased attack damage increase per upgrade from +3 to +5. These changes speed up production of Dark Archons. This production speed buff partly offsets the decreased strength of the carrier and is done with the buffs to the late game. Is done with the buffs to the late games of S2 races in mind. Yeah, so this is going to make Dark Archons more accessible, but of course they are going to be adjusting. Oh, they're not going to be adjusting any of the spells of the Dark Archon. Okay. Increase feedback cast range from 10 to 10.5. This will help the Dark Archon against ghosts. There you go. And of course, I have the shared pool regarding mind control. Scouts, once again, we changed. We have our scout changes. Decrease the Photon Blast's attack damage from 4x4 to 7.7x2. Increase the attack damage bonus +1 versus light to +2 versus light. Increase damage increase per upgrade from 0.5 to 1. Attack period has been decreased. Attack point was decreased, so more micro ability for the scouts, and increase dual photon blasters range from 4 to 5. Previously, we increased the scouts' anti-ground damage while reducing its range. Our intent was, the downside of this, of course, was they had a really hard time like kiting and kiting back against like opposing units, of course, against mutas. Our intent was to give the unit an additional niche against Bailing and a Ravager bus, and to encourage harassment by enabling 2 scouts to one-shot a drone. In practice, this has not panned out well, as Bailing and Ravager bus have been less common lately. That might also be because of the player base as well, referring to like Dark no longer being active and Solar being a very different kind of player compared to Dark. But Solar has been playing more StarCraft Evolution. Moreover, both the decreased range of dual photon blasters and the tight timing window need to bypass the drone's health regeneration make this drone harassment impractical. Players are also reluctant to invest into multiple scouts. When they do, it's usually through all-in mass scout aggression. The scout's high damage discourages opponents from trying to approach scouts without a clear advantage, but their low range likewise prevents it from being an effective skirmisher. To address this, we are reworking the scout once again. Version draws on the lessons learned from 1.15 and 1.16 iterations of the scouts, combining the versatility and micro potential of the 1.15 scouts with most of the raw damage output of the 1.16 scouts. Although 2 scouts are no longer capable of one-shotting workers, drones or probes or banelings, they should still be powerful enough to contribute to baneling bus defense, and we expect that the increased range will create skirmishing and harassment potential that unquestionably offsets the decrease in raw damage. Again, the scout is one of those units that, I mean, they kind of referenced it here, has been changed a lot. Like, there's been a lot of different iterations of the scout. We're kind of approaching it once again. Here, now it's going to be a little bit weaker to harass, but now it's going to be stronger when it comes to outright kiting and head-to-head skirmishes, as I did mention, which I think is probably a good thing. We did see that it was just not a viable option. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be a viable option either when it comes to anti-air because of the Corsair. Speaking of Corsair, increased build time. Okay, increased build time slightly by 22.1 to 22.9. Decrease structural web energy cost by 125 to 100. Decrease the duration of disruption web as well, which we were expecting. Not by too much, but was decreased. Then we have the carrier. Interceptors now launch projectiles instead of firing lasers. Interceptor attack projectile speed increased from 19.6 to 29.4. To better emulate carrier behavior in Brood War, interceptors now fire projectiles rather than hit scan lasers. These can be dodged, and they can also overkill if many are fired at the same target, which will force more micro potential or more micro out of these carriers as well to make sure you don't overkill or you minimize overkill. However, in light of mid and late game buffs across the SG races, and interceptor projectile speed has been sped up from its PTR value to mitigate some of the overkill potential. Okay. Arbiter. Stasis field reduced. We were mentioning that before. From 32.9 to 23.6. Decrease recall activation delay. From 1.43 to 0.98. Recall no longer requires units to be inside the targeting area to activate. Oh. Recalled units are no longer stunned during or after activation. Casting Recall now plays an animation and sound on the Arbiter. Recall can now be used on ground targets while the Arbiter is above cliff edges or on pathable terrain. Ground unit recalls will fail if there is no pathable terrain within 3 range of the Arbiter. Interesting. Okay, so some big changes here to Recall. Oh, I say big changes. This makes it more viable. It kind of cleans up some of the more like finicky aspects of Recall. So really cool. And then we have bug fixes. Okay. Then we have our bug fixes. Once again, when it comes to a lot of these changes, it is a shame, right? Like, a lot of this basically is still going to be like observed and tested. As we mentioned before, because of the change to SE2, it is going to impact this quite a bit. When it comes to the strength of a lot of these units, taking away a lot of the strength of the spell caches is brutal, but most likely going to have to be monitored. And I would not be surprised if the next patch is pretty massive in regards to how a lot of these units are going to be adjusted to help compensate for the changes of the main base game, of Storm coming into play, of Microbial Shroud being another big factor as well. So we'll see. We'll see how it's going to be affected. Once again, we did mention that we haven't been covering a lot of StarCraft Evolution as of late, unfortunately. There have been some PTR tournaments, but we haven't been able to focus too much on that. When it comes to the upcoming season of StarCraft Evolution, we will do our best to try to catch up. I know that Enki is still planning on hosting show matches, and we're going to be all over those show matches as well, and hopefully catching up with the bi-weekly tournaments, whether it's Code A, whether it's like base game as well. I know that they're going to be coming back. The events themselves are going to be coming back. And we'll try to be all over them. Oh. But yeah, the patch did drop at a really awkward kind of time. So best of luck to those working on SE Evolution to try to scramble together and try to observe and kind of work with what the balance of the game is currently at. As I'm sure it's going to be in flux thanks to the new patch. So a lot of testing is going to be coming together, I'm sure. And that leads us into our tournaments. That leads us into our tournament results here. Okay, first things first, we have our modded tournaments. Once again, yeah, no SE Evolution this week, but we do have the Hybrid 1 Power Rankings number 5. This event did conclude yesterday, actually, finally. after so long, Poppy, after so long. It's been a year-long event. Finally does come to an end here. The playoffs did conclude, and quickly checking here. Specifically, it was the finals. Yeah, it was the finals. Finals were played out. Lower semis as well. Gunner took down Michnek 3-0, and then Hydra took down Gunner 4-3. Did Gunner off race? Oh, this was played in SE Evolution. Oh, there you go. This is with an SE Evolution, and looks like, yeah, Gunner did off race as Zerg here. Hydra took him down 4-3, went all the way to the ace match. Impressive win there from Hydra, but impressive play by Gunner to make it all the way to the ace match. I'll be honest, I typically, like, in my mind, like, Michnek is a stronger player than Gunner. I mean, Michnek took down Homeowner. Like, it's crazy. So for Gunner to 3-0 Michnek, in my mind, pure cannon rushes. Like, Gunner, like, he can be very cheesy, can be very aggressive. So impressive play there by Gunner. Looks like 3-Point did forfeit as well. That is unfortunate. I would have said that 3-Point would have been the favored player here, but again, did forfeit in the end. So GG, congratulations to Hydra for finally claiming the win here for the Hype 1 Power Rankings. Again, it lasted all year long. It was a year-long event. Finally came to a conclusion. I say year-long, it was around, what 6 months? Let's go. Does come to an end. Up next, we have the 3D Clan Community 2v2 Old School Cup. This is for SE Evolution. We brought this up before, but the CIS region or the Russian region, they have been hosting a lot of 2v2 tournaments for SE Evolution. I don't think we've had any like English 2v2 events for SC Evo, but we have seen a lot of them from the CIS region specifically, and we're seeing it here as well. We're seeing it here. We had Young Yakov and Nikrat taking down Bratok and Midovike initially, but they actually came back for the rematch. Oh wait, no, sorry, they did not. Def Mars and Zardians came back for the rematch. Actually, they worked their way up through the lower brackets and they claimed the win over Young Yakov and Nikrat. So GG, well played. Congratulations here to Def Mars and Zardians. They are more well versed in StarCraft Illusion, 100%. I know that SE Evolution is not really balanced for 2v2 for team games, so there is a little bit more. This is a little bit more chaotic, from my understanding. But yeah, the CIS region or the Russian region has been more willing to embrace this side of things. I say CIS because we had players from Ukraine here as well, also competing. But yeah, they're a lot more willing to kind of like embrace the 2v2 side of things. It just hasn't really happened in the foreign or the more English-speaking scene yet. Maybe one day. they'll step in for the 2v2s. But congratulations to Def Mars and to Zardian. GG, well played. That leads us into the Green Nerds Mod Jam Open number 1. Interesting. It's Greener. He's still hosting his mod. Okay, so he's still pushing his mod here, still running his tournaments. Really cool to see. So this is a tournament run on a specific mod that Green Nerd has made, separate from the patch that was just released, of course. With its own changes. Like, there are a lot of new upgrades. It's very, very in-depth. It's very intense is what I will say. It can be very, I was gonna say jarring. It can be very overwhelming when it comes to the patch itself. But here we had Mixu takes down Patches 2-0, takes down Homeowner 2-1, and takes down Special 3-1 as well. So congratulations to Mixu as he's claimed the win. Does take down Special in those finals. Impressive, very impressive play there by Mixu. When it comes to the changes themselves, I haven't gone into detail of them, so I can't really speak too much on the mod itself, but it is really cool to see that Greenwood has taken the initiative to make his own balance patch, basically. Make his own patch, make his own changes, and it's possible that in the future, some of these changes may actually transfer and translate to actual SE2. It's possible. I will say that this is a little bit more ambitious just because there are so many added changes, so many added upgrades as well, which does feel like it's taking a little bit too far. But really cool to see that he's like put the time, put the effort to actually come up with all these changes and to make the game into what he believes is kind of like a better game state. So congratulations to Mixu. This is also played on a full TLMC21 map pool as well, with 10,000 Feet, Celestial Enclave, Magnetic North, Missing You Today, Mothership, Ruby Rock, Talisman, and Throne of the Dunes. So on a fresh full map pool, really cool to see. That leads us into our amateur events. That leads into the Amateur League Weekly number 140. Again, this is a weekly tournament here for every single kind of MMR range. Almost every single MMR range does run on a weekly basis here. And up first, we do have our Initiate Weekly. For those between the leagues of Bronze and Platinum, we had our 4 players. We had Jackals, Checo TV, Evil, Gazebo, and Saito as well. Oh, I wonder if that's the Saito that we know. But Saito takes down Jackals to the 0. He does fall to Checo TV though. Checo TV, he does actually come back from the lower bracket. Does win in the end at 3-0 over Saito. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Checo. I believe he's a Latin American player, if I'm not mistaken. Does take down Saito to 3-0. That leads us into the veteran weekly for Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. We do have our players here as well. We have Taldarim. Taldarim, he takes down Balimko 2-0 initially and takes him down 3-0 as well. Doesn't drop a single map in the tournament. Very strong showing here from Taldarim. He's a regular, I will say. He's a regular in these tournaments. And he does walk away unscathed in the Veteran League Weekly. So congratulations here to Taldarim. We then have Prestige. Prestige is for those between Leagues of Diamond 1 and Masters 2. This is the more popular, the more kind of like stacked bracket. We have Mathrix, we have Damachio, we have Steez, Set, Anatar, Milka, and Khalid as well. And I want to say that last week Set took the win, if not mistaken. But here we have Matrix or Mathrix. Mathrix takes down Damachio, takes down Steez 2-0, Set 2-0, and takes down Milka 3-0 in the finals. Did drop a map. Ooh, and a little bit unfortunate, but it looks like Set did forfeit to Milka in the lower brackets. So it is unfortunate. It's like I would have loved to have seen a rematch between Set and Mathrix, but at least Milka does pose a threat to him and does take a map at least. Did threaten Mathrix at least somewhat in those finals. GG. GG will play. That leads us into the Elite Edition for M1 and GM. This is typically, we often do see, unfortunately, a lot of weeks where there's just no games played here. It's very unpopular just because there's no prize pool. There's no prize money on the line, so a lot of the pro players do avoid this. Cost Phoenix, I mean, it's open to all players, I guess. Kind of? No. Cost Phoenix is not M1.
Cost Phoenix has promoted a lot lately, apparently thanks to the coaching.
There you go. So Cost Phoenix, he does go down to Sexy Fox. Sexy Fox takes down Deca 2-0, but actually goes down in the rematch to Deca 3-1. Okay. GG. GG will play. Deca does win in the rematch. Yeah, I was curious. Cost Phoenix, I just looked him up. He is not M1, so I don't. Maybe if you're lower league, you're able to compete anyway. It's hard to say, but yeah, Cost Phoenix, he's still eligible for our tournaments. Still eligible.
Wait, what's his MMR?
4.4, which is M2.
Okay, yeah. So he still feeds into M2. Maybe he just wanted to play with the with the higher rank player.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. How I guess even though Elite is meant to be M1 to GM, it's possible that even if you're lower league, you can still sign up.
Yeah,
exactly.
You
can still sign up and still play. That's my assumption with Cost Phoenix's name being a part of this tournament. It's my assumption. But GG, well played to Deca. Deca. That leads us into the Little Mac StarCraft 2 League Season 13. We actually rated them during their finals, but the finals was this week. It took a long time to get going. If you can see here, the semifinals were played in July, the finals were played in October. So a lot of tournaments are finally wrapping up. This is basically the equivalent of the Hyper 1, like the power rankings kind of like situation. So it did take a while. For the event to conclude, but we got around to it. It looks like there's still a third place match to be played, unfortunately. Because it's been so many months since Ame and Fogos played, like it'll take a while to get our hands on them. But congratulations to Kaiboy. Kaiboy takes down Beast 4-0 in the grand finals. It was a 4-0, a little bit more one-sided, unfortunately, but a strong showing there by Kaiboy. Did struggle on his way to the finals, but at the same time, it's also one of those things where I'm sure during that period of time between July and now, Kaiboy has improved a lot. I'm sure he has been improving. I'm sure he has been leveling up, and to the point where now he 4-0's Beast. Very impressive play there. And a shout out to Little Mac for actually running and hosting the event and wrapping it up as well. It was a long time that it was on hiatus, and a lot of us thought that maybe it would not conclude, but he got around to it. Did get around to it. Did wrap it up. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Kaiboy. That leads us into the MSO, Masters on Open number 96. This is our monthly tournament for those between the leagues of 4.7k MMR and below. That is around M2 and below. Here we had our double elimination bracket, and we had Milka. Milka took down Damachio 2-1, took down Anatar 2-1, but went down in the rematch. 2-3 to Anatar. What's exciting about this event is that we, of course, did run it on a full TLMC 21 map pool. So that is going to have to be adjusted, if I'm not mistaken. Or was
no,
this not?
This was before. This was before TLMC.
Okay. Sorry, this was before TLMC, my mistake.
However, the next Duckling Open, which is happening this Saturday, will be on TLMC.
Yeah, there you go. So our next amateur tournament should be on full TLMC maps. But here, congratulations to Anatar for taking the win, getting the rematch over Milka. And of course, Kuro and Steel were covering this event as they often do when it comes to our amateur tournaments. And also Anatar, he also won the random raffle as well. Oh, there you go. GG. Wins the tournament and wins the raffle as well. GG, well played. Anatar. That leads us into the patches. TLMC 21 batch number 1. Fun fact, we will be casting number 2. We'll be covering it live. We'll be covering it via replays. I believe this was clashing with the SC2 Safe House qualifiers over the weekend as well. So there was a lot happening over the weekend. But this is basically a tournament that is going to be featuring new map pool, of course, featuring even some maps that we have yet to feature ourselves, like Missing You Today, Risen Memory, Taito Citadel as well. And here we had a Cristiano. He takes down Mute 2-0, Nicarak 2-0, Geralt 2-0. He falls in the rematch of the initial best of 5, but then they have a best of 1 kind of reset match. Ooh, a best of 1 ace match here. And Cristiano does take the win just barely over Geralt, only winning 1 game in the finals. The power of the reset match. That is crazy, by the way, that they did a best of 1. Typically, it's like best of 5 into a best of 3. But here they did best of 5 into best of 1. And 1 game is all that Cristiano needed to claim the win. Crazy. So GG, well played. Cristiano, he does claim the win here over Geralt. Shout out to Geralt for actually winning the initial best of 5. I'm very impressed. I typically favor Cristiano over Geralt, so to see him 3-0 is very, very impressive. In the end, did fall, but went all the way to 2nd place. Well done, Patrick. Well done. And again, I hope that they were able to feature some of those newer maps. I mentioned this before when we were going over the hotfix patches, but once again here, there's a reason why we said it. Like, Zerg matchups are very rare, so we just haven't seen a lot of ZVT and ZVP to judge how these changes are impacting the game, and we're seeing it here as well. Like, no Zerg representation. That's going to be a trend moving forward, of course. It's going to be a bit of a trend. I say that, but up next we have the Wardy TV TLMC contest tournament number 15. Unfortunately, this was delayed. Like, we hosted our own tournaments with the new maps ahead of time before this event finally started, but did recently begin and is currently underway. So we have our group stage. We have a solid lineup of players invited and qualified. We have Geralt, Hearthstone, Hero, Mana, Max, Zaun, Chance, and Classic for Protoss. We have 8 Protoss players. We have 7 Terran in Bunny, Clem, Cure, Nicarak, Ryung, Spirit, and Björn. And for Zerg, we have 5. We have Lambo, Mixu, Raynor, Yang Yakov, and Rogue. So really cool to see some invited Zerg players there. Again, I do think it's important to kind of get an idea of how Zerg is looking, and we got to invite them to get the games in. Once again, this is this round robin? Yes, it is a round robin format here, so you get as much games as possible. I do think it's most important here that we did have a round robin group stage. In Group A, we had Spirit, Max, Cure, Rogue, and Nicarak. Now, in recent times, Spirit has been looking very shaky. He's been looking very shaky. So for Spirit to 2-0 Rogue to 2-1 Cure, to take a map off of Max, really impressive play there out of Spirit. Very well done. Spirit comes out in first place, Max in second, Cure in third. Rogue, he does tap out in the group stage, so does Nicarak. I would say, again, that's a bit of a surprise. I was favoring Rogue over Spirit, but that's also why I was emphasizing how impressive Spirit was looking here. Didn't get to see the games myself, and even though Rogue does go down here, I do think it's important that we were able to feature him in some of these games. Apparently, Rogue 2-1 Max. Crazy that he beats Max, still doesn't make it out of the group. Crazy. It was a very close kind of like tiebreaker between Max, Cure, and Rogue, but Rogue, he barely did not make it through. And I hope that some of these games are able to showcase the new patch alongside the new maps as well in a good light. I do recommend the VODs to actually see how some of these games played out. Heading on over here to Group B, we had Clem, Zaun, Ryung, Mixu, and Chance. Here, I will say there was a little bit more of a delineation in skill. Like, Group A was a little closer in skill. Group B, I would say there's more of a disparity here. We did have Clem in first place, Zaun and Ryung in second. A little bit more of what we expected to see between our players. That led us into Group C. Group C is currently just began. It just began not too long ago. We have Geralt Harstem, Björn, Yang Yakov, and Hero. Ooh. And the favorite players I would say coming into this are going to be Hero, Geralt, and Björn. Hero, Björn, and Geralt, they're going to be favored here. Best of luck to Harstem and Jan Yakov to make it out of Group C. Hope they put on some good games. And again, it's less about it's kind of less about who makes it through, but more about the games themselves to feature and showcase the patch, and also feature and showcase the maps. So I hope we get the most amount of maps out of all of our players here. That leads us into Group D. Group D has Mana, Classic, Lambo, Rainer, and Bunny. Ooh, this is a group of death. Oh my god. I can see anyone making it through and anyone not making it through. I would say the top players here are going to be Classic, Rainer, and Mana. I think I would say that. I think Classic, Rainer, and Mana are going to be the top three. Best of luck to Lambo and Bunny. I mean, again, I can see Lambo making it through. I can see Bunny making it through. I can see any combination of players making it through and not advancing on as well. So best of luck. Best of luck to all the players involved as that leads into the playoffs, which will be taking place in a couple of days. By the time we get the next podcast, we should have already concluded this tournament. And once this tournament concludes, voting opens for the TLMC 21 map pool. So we're still waiting for this tournament to conclude before we can start voting on things, just as a heads up. And of course, we are running our own tournaments featuring all these maps as best we can. Featuring the maps. So best of luck, and a shout out to Wardy for hosting this event. We'll probably raid Wardy once we wrap up with the podcast today, assuming it's still ongoing. Probably. That leads us into the Toho 2v2 Cup number 7. This is a 2v2 tournament for the Chinese region, for the Chinese scene. Hosting another one. They've been hosting these quite regularly, is what I will say. And this week, for this tournament, we do have Nami Chiaki and Lemon, a very powerful duo stepping into the ring. What other duos do catch my eye? We have Silky versus Eka, Silky and his partner. Who else do we have? We have Restart and Kingslayer. Ooh, they went down early. Joe Little Loves and his partner. They also made it to the semifinals. But yeah, for the most part, Nami Chiaki and Lemon, they are the strongest duo, and they make it through without dropping a single map. Crazy. They 2-0 in the quarterfinals, they 2-0 in the semis, and they 3-0 in the grand finals as well. Very impressive play. Unfortunately, there weren't really any other duos that featured 2 pro players. Like, I'm thinking of like Young Zest and Jollywood Loves, or Oriana and like Silky, or another pairing, SCV. TATP, like some of these other guys, they weren't really here. They weren't really able to have any kind of presence here. So Nami and Lemon, they do go by uncontested. So very impressive. That leads us into our regional events. That leads us into the Elpis Team League Code A round number 2. Again, this is a team league happening featuring all the Chinese teams. They are facing off against each other. Unfortunately, no Super Kitty. True. Not this time. Not this time, Babby. Not this time, as we do get into the Code A regular season. Coming into round 2, we had FLC. FLC, they take down Hist and Toss, their second team, 4-2. Once again, we're featuring some players I'm a little bit less familiar with, but do get a walkover win in the second round. A little bit unfortunate that there's a walkover win. Hopefully they're able to actually take part and compete. The opposing team, I mean. We have the Starlight Twinkle Team 2. They are featuring Xingming, Lingyu, and another player as well. They take down PTB 4-2. Very impressive. Again, in my eyes, Xingming is kind of like the ace for their second team. And they do lead the charge. They do claim the win. Again, every week they do have a round, and should be wrapping up towards the end of November, should this team league, and we'll be keeping an eye on all these teams. Again, when it comes to the Code A edition, I'm a little bit less familiar with who's favored and who isn't. So again, it's a little bit more up in the air as to who will make it through. Heading on over to Code S, this is where we have a lot of teams that we're more familiar with here. Round 2, we had Hist. We had Hist going up against Her Project. Hist, they do claim the win 5-1. Big win here for Team Hist. We do see Number takes down Compass 2-0. TATP, we mentioned him earlier, takes down Daydreamer 2-0 as well. Again, a hefty lineup. We have Kauda. Kauda take down Little Fairy. Oh, that's a big win, actually. That's, I would say, a big upset. We had Ghost tying against Shameless 1-1. Shameless is meant to be the ace player. He's meant to be one of the big names, if not the best player in the league. So for him not to 2-0, is a pretty big upset. I feel like Little Fairy, they need Shameless to carry a little bit here, and getting a 1-1 scoreline is not good enough. Of course, it is a team league, so all the players have to lift their weight. We had Ghost Runner and Kinnem tied 1-1, and we had Turn taking down Ear 2-0. So a big win here for Kawada. Very impressive. That leads us into PCEC versus ASTT. That's Team Astartes. 6-0, dominant showing here by PCEC. Very impressive as they do claim the win. That leads us into Starlight Twinkle versus Elpis. I do think that Starlight Twinkle probably have the strongest lineup. If you recall, we were discussing all the teams last week or last time, and we were talking about the strength of the players. How sure there are some teams that have players like Shameless, who have like these big ace players, but when it comes to the team overall and how well rounded they are, Starlight Twinkle probably takes the cake there. We have Jolo Loves, Young Zest, and Rewhites. They have a very strong Protoss lineup. Like, all three of those players are they're some of the best Protoss players in all of China. So for them to win their games 2-0, I mean, for them to win their games 2-0 is kind of what we expect. Miggy did take down Rewhites, so big win there for Elpis. But Young Zest and Joloa, they do their part, they carry, they win 4-2. So GG well played. Again, Starlight Twinkle are one of those teams that are looking to win this league. There are, of course, teams like Little Fairy that can definitely spike up as well. Teams like Hiss, like there's definitely some other competitors, but Starlight Twinkle, they're like the heavy hitter. One of the favorites. They are one of the favorites. So best of luck to all the other teams as we get into the following rounds. That leads us into the SSU Friends Cup 2025 October edition. Interesting. Which once again features the Chinese region, Chinese scene, a massive bracket. Oh, double eliminate. Oh my god. What is this? Massive double elimination bracket. Looks like it took all week. Looks like it took 5 days. Like 4 to 5 days here to conclude. We got Young Zest in the mix. We got SCV. We got Ghost Runner, Jollywa Loves. We got Miggy as well. I see Latte going down early on. Oriana went down early on as well. Oriana played against SCV in the round of 32. That is brutal seeding. Number played against Young Zest in round 32 as well. Who seeded this tournament? But we got some big names going down early. I mean, thankfully it is double elimination. You can actually see. Wait, well, when did Kingslayer go down? Kingslayer, he went down early to Joloa as well. Jesus, oh my god, who seeded this? there's so many big names facing in the round of 32. In the end, we did see Joloa went down to his opponent in the round 16. We had Miggy going on a deep run here, going all the way to the upper bracket finals playoff against Young Zest. Young Zest takes down Miggy 3-1, and then in the grand finals, Young Zest takes down Jolo Loves 4-0. But look at Jolo's performance in that lower bracket. He had a really, really strong performance. He took down Kingslayer, Ghost Runner, the guy that knocked him down to the lower brackets. He got some walkover wins, which is unfortunate. He 3-0s Miggy, but Jolo, he worked hard for it. He worked so hard to make it all the way to the finals. In the end, Young Zest has claimed it. I will say that Young Zest, he is the highest rated player amongst all these players here in the bracket. He was favored to win, but he did bleed in the process, right? He did drop some maps. From time to time throughout the quarterfinals, semis, and upper bracket finals as well. And in the end, does take it. Congratulations to Young Zest. Congratulations here. Again, Starlight Twinkle, they come out on top in this tournament as well. And again, they're favored in the team league. That leads us into Sunrise Cup. Sunrise Cup number 2025 Fall Edition. Okay, so we have our seasonal Sunrise Cup, bringing together players from the standings of the weeklies and also qualifiers as well. Who faced off in this tournament? We had Nanami Chiaki, we had Oriana off racing as Protoss. Let's go. We had SEV, Young Zest, there's Miggy, Rewhite forfeited. Oh, that's unfortunate. Unfortunate here, but Rewhite did forfeit. There's no Jollywa Loves. But Nanami Chiaki does claim the win 4-2 over Young Zest. Again, Young Zest is a really strong player, but in the previous tournaments, Nanami wasn't there. Nanami was not a part of the previous tournament, so here Nanami does rock up, does win 4-2 in a best of 7 over Young Zest. GG well played. Nanami does claim the win. Does come out on top here in this season of Sunrise Cup. GG well played. That leads us into our final set of tournaments or regional events here. We have the Legacy Weekly Japan 474. Show us that Tapioca. Yeah, there he is. Tapioca does claim the win 2-0 over Noah Shirayuki, 2-0 over Deadly Kitten, and 2-0 over Sayark. Tapioca has quickly, I would say, solidified himself as the best player in Japan. the best player in Japan, has won so many of these Japanese weeklies. Typically, we'd see a lot more contention between Vaishravanya, Psyarch, Crimson, Deadly Kitten as well. But in recent months, we have seen Tapioca be the dominant force in Japan. GG. GG will play. Congratulations. Still waiting for Tapioca to branch out and play in other tournaments and other Open Cups. For now, just focusing on the regionals on the Japanese weeklies. Este Tapioca. So GG, well played. That leads us into the Kung Fu Cup at 2025 monthly number 2, Random Battlefield. I will say that this event did have a lot of trials and tribulations. It was clashing a lot with our tournament. It was clashing with the Wardy TV Monday as well. Like, there was a lot of scheduling issues with this, which is why we even had to forfeit. Oh, that's unfortunate. Sorry, so if you look at the first round, Creator, he gets a walkover win over Max Packs. Fun fact, it says due to scheduling conflict. This was during the finals of the Wardy TV Monday, and Max Packs, he was going to forfeit. He was going to forfeit the Wardy TV Monday to play in Kung Fu Cup. And then he said, oh no, I spoke to the organizer of Kung Fu Cup and we agreed to reschedule, so it's okay. Clearly not. Clearly there was some miscommunication, as Creator just got the walkover win. So that is really unfortunate, considering that Max Pax, he was originally going to forfeit Wardy TV Monday to play in this. That was the plan, and then then that changed when he was told that he could reschedule. So it looks like there was maybe some miscommunication there, or maybe they couldn't organize it, any kind of rescheduling. So in the end, Creator did get the walkover of Max Pax, really unfortunate. Clem takes down Trigger 3-0, takes down Hero 3-0, and takes down Creator 4-1 as well. Jesus, Clem, he gambled so well. If you look at his games, so quarterfinals, Clem, he rolled Protoss every game against Trigger. And bearing in mind, Clem, he has some of the best Protoss, and of course he's the best Terran in the world, and he's one of the best Protoss players in the world as well. So Clem, he rolls Protoss every game against Trigger. Against Hero, Clem rolls Protoss and Terran, so only his main races. And against Creator in the finals, the one game that Clem loses is his Zerg, of course, because his Zerg is very weak in comparison. It's very weak, but he rolls Protoss and Terran for every other game. he got 100% win rate with his Protoss and Terran in this tournament, and the only game that he lost in this tournament was the one time that he rolled Zerg. If he had rolled Zerg any more often, most likely he would not have made it this far. But thankfully he avoided the Zerg, and he rolled well. He rolled well, papi. Ay. The gamba, papi, the gamba. Likewise, fun fact, if you look at Creator, the one game that he rolled Protoss, he played against Clem Zerg, which was the weakest one anyway. So the least important game for Creator to roll Protoss, and every other game he rolled Terran or Zerg. I mean, that's the random tournament for you, right? Like, there's a lot of randomness. There's a lot of randomness involved. So that, there's very often, like, your hands are in the, sorry, your life is in the hands of the dice, and they can treat you well or they can screw you over. So GG well played. Creator, he never got to play Protoss after the first game, and Clem got to play his main race throughout the rest of the series and the rest of the tournament. Congratulations to Clem. Does come out on top in the Random Battlefield. GG well played. Este Clem. The rules are super vague. Oh, there you go. There you go. I think that's in regards to the Amateur League Weekly. Up next, we do have the OSC Midseason Playoffs number 2. Again, we have had some updates here in regards to the Midseason Playoffs. Quickly double checking. We had the Hearthstone matches. So Hearthstone does take down Mana 2-1. A big win there. I would favor Mana over Hearthstone, so impressive to see Hearthstone take down Mana 2-1. Does go down to Björn in the next round, but Björn is one of the favorite players to win the entire tournament. Björn does take down Hearthstone 2-0. That leads us into, I believe, the lower brackets. Yeah, that does lead us into the lower bracket here with Hydra versus Night Phoenix. Night Phoenix takes down Hydra 2-1. Hydra is eliminated from the tournament. We then had Iba versus Jomek. We had Iba taking down Jomek 2-0. Jomek is now out of the tournament as well. We had a Trigger versus MinoVK. MinoVK also tapping out of the tournament. These are all elimination matches. Then had Lemon series. Lemon does take down Hatsu 2-0. Hatsu not being eliminated. Then we had Yang Yako versus Bappy. Oh my god, crazy upset. Insane up. Aye, Bappy. Bappy takes down Yang Yakov 2-0. Yakov, he's meant to be the Zerg hope here, and Yakov goes down in the first round. Oh, I mean, it is new patch. It's a new patch, and Protoss is that much stronger for it, and Bappy brings him down. Impressive play out of Bappy. My condolences to Yang Yakov, as again, there aren't many Zerg players to begin with here, so having one less is that much more brutal. Oof. That much more brutal here. So best of luck to the others for a little bit more better representation in the lower bracket. And likewise, we did have Art versus... we also had Art versus Sebestus. Sebestus takes down Art 2-1 to face up against Shameless in the next round. So looks like we had a couple of upper bracket matches, but mainly lower bracket matches this week. Again, there's still a lot of series to go, a lot of matches to conclude. This event is going to last for quite some time, and sometimes we cover some of these days. Other times it's Steadfast or Chicken Man or Dave Testa or Wardy. So depending on which community caster is available, they will step in and cover this event. And it'll take quite a number of weeks and potentially another 2 months to crown our champion. We're getting through it. We're slowly getting through it. There's still a lot to go through in the lower bracket. So GG, well played. That leads us into the Open Cups. Here we go. So for our Open Cups, up first we have the War TV Monday number 54. If you recall, we spoke about unfortunately some scheduling conflicts here, but we did have Max. He goes by untouched, undefeated, takes down Geralt at 2-0, takes down Skillus 2-0, and it takes down MaxPax 3-0 as well. Impressive performance here out of MaxPax. Does walk away without dropping a single game, and purely off of his PvP. GG, well played. I don't want to gloss over some of these other wins. Winding it back, Geralt has a crazy upset. One of the players that can threaten MaxPax's Hero never got a chance. He never got a chance to play against MaxPax. Geralt takes down Hero 2-1 in the round of 16. Big win there for Geralt. Skillus takes down Rogue 2-1 as well. That was the series that we were casting. I think we casted Skillus versus Ledlix into Rogue, into MaxPax versus Skillus. So Skills takes down Rogue 2-1. Big win there for Skills as well. Skills, his PvZ has been improving quite heavily over the past couple of weeks, taking down players like Rogue on a more regular basis. So very impressive play there by Nikita. Scrolling down, we had Classic taking down Harsum 2-1 for Harsum to take a map off of Classic and to win against Mana earlier. Harsum, he has been improving in his PvP. Very impressive. And in the end, of course, MaxPax 3-0 over Classic. Something that I did notice here is that we were missing some of our regulars. Cure was missing, Beyond was missing as well. We actually haven't seen Cure in quite some time, so I was concerned that he was taking a break, and I mean, he is taking a break, but Cure was confirmed to take part in the TLMC tournament, so he's at least competing in that, so Cure is still active in some way. But congratulations to MaxPax for claiming the win. That leads us into the Sparkling Tuna Cup, the STC number 108 TLMC 21 edition. As a reminder, all these tournaments, of course, are on the newest patch. They're all live, but none of the tournaments have actually incorporated TLMC 21 maps yet. This is our second week in a row that we are incorporating full Team Liquid Map Contest maps. We have heard that some of the other tournaments are finally going to start incorporating them next week, but it's so late. It's like, again, voting ends at the end of the month, so we need to get those games in as quickly as possible. Thankfully, they're finally, taking the initiative next week, and hopefully they're able to feature as many maps as they can. We will also be adjusting our map pool next week as well to show off some of the other maps that we have yet to do so. Here we're featuring 10,000 Feet, Celestial Enclave, Magnetic North, Mothership, Old Republic, Ruby Rock, Satellite Years, Throne of Dunes, and Tourmaline. Because thanks to our tournaments as well, we've already seen some adjustments made in the maps. It's been really cool to see feedback being taken and changes being made to the maps thanks to games that we provided. So really thankful for that. Speaking of the tournament though, we did have Cristiano, he popped off. He took down Geralt 2-0, which we did favor. He took down Beyond 2-1. Beyond has been struggling. He has been struggling in TVP. A lot of Terran players have. So Cristiano shuts Beyond down 2-1 to advance on to the grand finals. In said finals, he takes down Creator 3-1. Cristiano claiming a win after a very long time, to be honest. Cristiano, he's won a lot of Tuna Cups, but in recent times he has not. He has been struggling a little bit more. He's been taking a bit of a step back. but now he finds his stride. I don't want to gloss over it, but Nickracht, he took down Shin 2-1. That was a big win for Nickracht. Again, Nickracht, he was able to pop off. He was able to show off his TVZ. Shin was trying to play Muta. He was trying to play Muta a couple of times here, and he was punished. He was shot down. Muta play was buffed, but despite that, of course, Bio is still a very strong way to punish and shut down players attempting to rush into Muta or attempting to transition into Mutas as well. Shin had a very hard time, and Nickracht took the series. Very impressive play there by Nickracht. Likewise, he had a really clutch series against Creator, went all the way to the ace match. I can see a world where Creator could have taken that. Nickracht did let us know that he was otherwise, he was kind of running out of time, like he was strapped for time there, and there was a lot of pressure on him. So we saw a lot of all-ins, a lot of committed play there. In the end, Creator did take down Nickracht, and Cristiano took down Creator. GG, well played. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies. This was the European weekly tournament. Likewise, still yet to incorporate any TLMC 21 maps. Here we did have Clem. Clem, he takes down Harson 2-1, takes down Björn 2-0, but he does fall to Hero, as I mentioned before. Hero, he's one of the few players out there that can contest players like Max Pax, like Clem. So Hero takes down Clem 2-1. He already 2-0'd Max Pax in this tournament as well. Very impressive play there out of Hero, who was the only player to take, or who was the only other Protoss to take a map off of Hero, at least in the initial upper bracket. Mana did take a map off of Hero in the upper bracket as well. Impressive play there by Mana. Heading to the lower bracket, best of ones. Ooh, best of ones are brutal. Max Pax takes down Geralt in the best of one, takes down Björn in the best of one, takes down Clem in the best of one as well. And then we had a very intense back and forth in those finals. Hero and Max Pax went all the way to the ace match in that best of 5. Max Pax did initially beat Hero. He got his revenge, and then Hero wins 2-0 over Max Pax. So impressive play there. Congratulations. Hero does claim the win over Max Pax. Again, back and forth though. That's typically what we expect. We expect to see like a back and forth trade between Hero, Clem, Max Pax. This week, Hero does take down Max Pax and Clem, but again, we often do trade back and forth. And, in the coming weeks, we should be seeing Clem and Max Pax also rise up as well. But congratulations to Hero. Does claim the win. That leads us into the Big Cup number 52. Here we were discussing this tournament earlier. Hero takes down Homono 2-0, takes down Nickracht 3-1, and takes down Björn 3-1 as well to win another weekly tournament. We spoke earlier when we were discussing the hot fixes about how Hero, he didn't even use Storm in the series. He did not reach a Storm a single time in the series. It was purely Colossus based play, which did overwhelm Björn. Talking about the nerf to the Ghost, talking about the strength of the Colossus now, and how you do not have to rely on Storm at all, at least in the mid game of PvT. Later on, you want to incorporate some other forms of splash damage. Hero, who's going Colossus into Disruptor, and Hero had his way with Björn. GG, well played. Hero does claim the win. When it comes to other big results here, Nickracht, we were featuring him taking down Shin earlier. Here he 2-0'd Wayne, so really impressive play there by Nickracht, still showcasing his prowess in TVZ, and also took a map off of Hero as well. Nickracht and Björn have a very different approach. Nickracht, he was going for a lot of all-ins. Björn was going for a lot of mid-game and late-game play instead. So very different kind of approaches to the matchup, but Hero does take them both down, and congratulations to Hero for claiming the win. That leads us into the Turtle Tussle. That was this morning. This morning we did feature our tournaments here. Jesus, a lot more Terran oriented. This is our bi-weekly tournament. It's been a while. Since we've hosted the Turtle Tussle. Basically, it did go on hiatus when we ended the off-season, right? When EWC started up with Star Zagora, with DreamHack, with all the offline tournaments starting up again, our tournament went on hiatus. Now that we're in the off-season, the Turtle Tussle is back. The Turtle Tussle has returned. Once again, full TLMC 21 map pool, as is always the case for our tournaments. And Björn claims the win. Björn takes down Greener 2-0, takes down Mute 2-0, and takes down Percival 3-1 as well. It was a little bit one-sided, I will say. Percival versus Björn, we've seen them go back and forth in the past, but here Björn was looking much more informed, much more dominant. I did actually ask Björn afterwards. I was meant to ask Cristiano a little bit more during the Tunic Cup. I do apologize, but I asked Björn. I was like, "Oh, what do you think of the new map pool? What do you think about the patch?" Björn, he was saying that he hasn't played enough games on the new map pool yet to really have any strong opinion on the new maps, so he's still a little bit more reserved for that. When it comes to the new patch, he was talking about how the Ghost was hit a little bit too hard, and it has impacted TVP quite heavily. So that's something that is a big concern for him. Obviously, today it just got patched right, just got to increase HP, but I don't know if that's really enough. I mean, I don't think it is enough, but we'll see. We'll see how everything unfolds, and we'll see if we get another hotfix regarding the ghost and regarding TVP. Regardless, Beyond does claim the win over Percival. Shout out to Jimmy. We didn't really have too much European representation for this tournament. It is at a really rough time in Europe, like time zone wise. But Jimmy, he was playing his heart out at like 3 a.m. in the morning, did his best, went down to Percival, had some clown games. We had some proxies, some cheeses, some ninja bases. It was a crazy series. Led to a lot of entertaining games, though. A lot of entertainment. GG, well played. That leads us into our qualifiers for the Stellar Fest. Stellar Fest is a big offline event happening in Canada, and a bunch of qualifiers did actually occur. We did cast one of the qualifiers. We were meant to cover more of them, but we just didn't have the time, unfortunately. We just didn't have the time to cover too many of these in the end. And we have our confirmed players making it into that offline tournament. First up, we have the Asia qualifier. The Asia qualifier, we had Björn. Interesting to see, we had all the Team Vitality players. We had Maru, we had Zaun, and we had Ryung. So all the Vitality boys showed up for this. Despite that, Maru was coming in as a heavy favorite. Björn takes down Maru 3-1 in the qualifying match. A very impressive win here from Björn. Maru, he has been playing a little bit less, and of course, we have discussed his other matchups in the past. I will say that Maru's strongest matchup is TVT. It's better than his versus Zerg versus Protoss. So I was favoring Maru quite heavily here, but he does go down to Björn. So that's that much more impressive performance by Björn of all players to take down Maru. GG. GG well played. Björn does claim the series, does qualify, and is going to be a part of Stellarfest over in Canada. That leads us into the Americas qualifier. Here we had Trigger. Trigger, he takes down Inexorable 2-0, takes down Dolan 3-1, and takes down Estrella 3-0 as well. I mean, Trigger, he is the best player in the Americas, 100%. He has claimed that title for quite some time, so no surprise that he does claim the win here. What is surprising is the 3-0 over Estrella, and Dolan was the only player to take a map. Just saying, Pappy, just saying. So shout out to Dolan and congratulations to Trigger for claiming the qualification spot here and advancing on into Stellarfest. That leads us into the European tournament, the European Weekly. Here we had Clem as the heavy hitter. Here there weren't too many to really stand in his way. Despite that, shout out to Nikita. Nikita, he went all the way to the ace match against Clem. I want to say he tweeted about it. He did make a tweet about this. He was saying how he was feeling really strong in this series, and he believes that next time he plays against Clem, he'll take him down. He'll take him down. But an impressive performance here by Clem with the reverse sweep. He was down 2-0. He was down 2-0 and he won 3 games in a row. Very impressive performance there by Clem to recover, to claim the series 3-2, and to qualify and to be a part of Stellarfest. So Clem is going to be traveling over to Canada, is going to be part of that tournament, and that leads us into the global qualifier where players from all around the world could compete. We had a lot more Korean representation here. Here we had Shin. Shin took down Euthermal 2-1, took down Spirit 3-0. Likewise, Zaun took down Cristiano, took down Nightmare, and in the end, Zaun takes down Shin 3-0. Big win here for Zaun. Zaun will be a part of Stellarfest. He'll be traveling over to Canada to be a part of that tournament. So now we have our confirmed players through the qualifiers. We have Björn, we have Clem, Trigger, and Zaun. Okay, so 2 Terran, 2 Protoss players are confirmed. Bearing in mind that there is going to be another offline event happening just before Stellarfest to actually qualify into Stellarfest as well. So there's going to be like 2 back-to-back events that are occurring. It's going to be the Merivale 8 Open leading into the Stellarfest. The Merivale 8 Open, of course, being an open tournament where players have to pay for their own travel and be a part of that event. Whether or not we are going to be covering it ourselves and casting it, yet to be determined. If we are going to be like the main stream or the B stream, or if we're part of the event in some way for Stellarfest, we'll let you know. We were casting some of the qualifiers, the online qualifiers. Whether or not we're a part of the main events, we'll see. we'll see, but we'll see. As they're going to have like their offline casters. They're going to have Steadfast. Like Steadfast, he's going to be traveling to the event. He's going to be part of that tournament, a part of that cast as well. And potentially some others. But with that, GG, well played. With that, we then had our SSU Safe House qualifiers as well. Remember, the SSU Safe House is also right around the corner. It is an event happening. I mean, the cast is going to be happening from Vegas, but the event is going to be online. We still have another qualifier after this in a couple of days. So there's still a second qualifier. And then the Safe House will take place on the 19th of October. Last Safe House, we were the B stream. We were the B stream of the Safe House. We might be the B stream this time as well, but I have no confirmation. I have no confirmation on that. We'll let you know. Meanwhile, when it comes to the first qualifier, again, focusing on the Americas region, we had Special, we had Juanito. Juanito takes down Kamikaze 2-0, takes down Fox 2-0, and takes down Master 3-0 as well. Big win here from Juanito from Special. Does qualify for the SSU Safe House. Meanwhile, Master, he took down Eon, took down Eggs, and took down Eggs in the rematch. Master does come out in second place, also qualifying for the main event. GG. GG, well played. Shout out to Special, shout out to Master. A lot of Latin American and American representation. Of course, this event is limited to the Americas region, and there's going to be a second qualifier on the horizon as well. We'll see who takes part. We'll see who takes part. I look forward to it. It'd be cool to see players like Mute, players like Eggs also taking part in the event. We'll see. Remember, there's also going to be invites to the event as well. The invite's already confirmed. We have Estrella, Trigger, Cham, and Epic. So we already have 4 confirmed players through invites. We have Master and Special, and we have 2 players left to be a part of the Safe House. Let's go. I hope to see some more American representation. I hope to see Dolan as a part of the event, for example, as a part of the qualifier, I should say. But we'll see. We'll see. Regardless, congratulations to Special and Master. And again, the second qualifier is going to be on the 12th of October. It's going to be this weekend, and the group stage begins on the 19th. As it's going to be a 2-day event. 2-day events, 19th and 20th of October. So it is right around the corner. Otherwise, if you want to take part in some of these qualifiers and some of these open cups, you can do so via the sign-up list. Exclamation mark sign-up list in the chats. There are plenty of events on the horizon here, like the C Duckling Open. That's going to be in 2 days' time. We have Code for Giants Cup. We have the KSL. We have SU Safe House. We have Tuna Cup. We have all these tournaments on the horizon here. So, yeah, consider taking part. Consider taking part. Consider signing up through the sign-up list. You don't have to be a pro player to compete. A lot of these tournaments are open to all. Some of them are region locked, or some of them are MMR restricted, but those restrictions are listed on the sign-up list. They're all there. All the restrictions are there just in case there are any. Otherwise, with that, we are going to be wrapping up here. If you want to support us, you can do so via Patreon. Patreon does fund our tournaments, does fund Tuna Cup, SDO, and MSO as well. So if you want to support the CranKy Ducklings, you can do so via the Patreon. We do appreciate. We have been getting a lot of support on Patreon as well as of late, so thank you so much for the support on Patreon. If you want to follow us, check us out on YouTube, right? VODs are available on a daily basis. We have so much content, and if you can't watch something live, then VODs, then YouTube is the place to be, as Twitch no longer does support VOD content. So check us on YouTube. When it comes to our next cast here, I believe our next cast should be the KSL, should be the Korean StarCraft League. That's going to be over on this weekend on the 11th. So we have KSL, and then we have C Duckling Open that evening as well. We will not be casting the second SSU Safe House qualifier, just as a heads up, but our weekend is going to be jam-packed regardless. So a lot of content, a lot of StarCraft on the horizon. When it comes to KSL, I'll reach out about that. I'm hoping that they add some TLMC maps to KSL, but it comes down to Chicken Man and Dave Testa. It comes down to the event organizers themselves, of course. Otherwise, with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we should be live tomorrow when it comes to KSL. Sorry, we should be live in 2 days when it comes to KSL and SDO. Tomorrow, I believe we should be having a day off. Again, we're kind of having a bit of a leaner schedule, which I'm more than happy with. It's been a really intense year of StarCraft with barely any days off. So coming into October, coming into the off season, we're having some more free days where we should have some free time to stream, to play some Final Fantasy, to even ladder and play some StarCraft, and to spread our wings and to take a break from all the non-stop casting. We'll do what we can. We'll do what we can, papi. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for the support. And stick around. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. Again, Wardy is hosting a CLMC tournament. We do think it's really important to watch those games, to get your votes in as well, right? Voting for TLMC will soon open up when his tournament concludes. So do check it out. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time for some more StarCraft. Also, a big shout out to Kuro as well for handling the production and making sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao. Bye. Ciao. See you next time.